Okay, this is a video more on your monthly spending plans, and I've actually divided this into part one and part two because there's quite a bit to show you. So in part one, just a few things I wanted to show you about what you can do with your monthly spending plan. The first thing is, it may be that as you're going through this month, the amount of money that comes in on a certain payday is slightly different than what you thought before. So if you recall, when you set up an income source in Money Compass, you specify what your net income is going to be. Maybe in this case, July 10th arrives and, oh, good, we actually got a little bit more than we expected. Notice here we are expecting to receive net income of $1,700, but you got a few $100s of bonus money, for example. If you just long press on the date, you can say edit income, and let's say instead of $1,700, we got $2,000. Done. It's updated to $2,000. We've planned $1,700, and look at this. Instead of a zero, we now have $300 additional that's been unplanned. So remember, we want all zeros here because this is a zero-based budget, meaning we want to have every dollar assigned to some bill, expense, or savings goal. Always a good thing to do. If it's possible, throw it against our savings. So I'm going to update that to $595 instead, and we're back to zero. So all the money that's going to come in on the 10th has now been allocated, which is exactly what we want. Another thing you can do is, if you notice, you can not only click on different items like expenses, but you can also long press on them. So if I long press on any expense, you'll see an option called reset. If there's been no spending logged against it, this option is available. And what reset basically does is it reallocates the money. So it's like regenerating it. So for example, maybe I made an edit before. I changed this from 50 down to 15, and I kind of want to undo it. I'd like to reset it and redistribute the allocation. If I click reset, it'll just set it back to the way it was. So that's a useful option if you've made some edits and you kind of want to go back to what it was when you first created the plan. Reset's a good way to do it. And one other thing I wanted to show you is how you can add comments. Sometimes we want to put a little comment as a description of how we plan to use the money, just as a reminder for us as we go through the month. So for example, for miscellaneous, if I want to put a little comment here, when I long press on the amount and click edit, notice not only can I change the dollar value, but notice there's also a spot here where I can add comments. So in this case, I put in a comment that says, I'll need $30 to buy some paint. Maybe that's one of the ways I plan to use the miscellaneous funds that month. So you'll notice if I click on any of these items, the planned comment comes right up that I'm going to need $30 to buy paint. And finally, on this part one, I wanted to show you how things look once you've logged transactions. So once you've imported transactions, for example, from your bank, or manually logged some transactions like cash transactions, then you'll notice these expense categories will go bold. So notice things like clothing and eating out are not bold, meaning we haven't logged any spending against them, but groceries and pet look a bit different. They're in bold. And that means we've actually logged some transactions, some spending against them. So if I click on groceries, notice it says we've spent $87 of the $305 that's planned for the month. And if we wanted some additional details on what that spending was like, for example, for pet, we could long press on it. Notice there's actually a couple options here. There's transactions and history. If we click on transactions, then we'll see whatever spending has been logged against that pet category. So it says that $37 was spent on this date at a place called PetSmart. So there's another option called history that will be more meaningful when you've logged more spending. It'll show you kind of trend analysis in terms of how your spending has been on that category, so that you can adjust as necessary. Okay, that's it for part one. We'll have a few additional things in part two. And note there are also videos that cover things like how to log transactions, spending transactions, or import from your bank. So be sure to check out those videos as well. Thank you.